Look at this bird. It weighs less than 100 grams. It lives on the back of one of the largest animals on Earth, and the rhino lets it stay every day for its entire life. Now look closer. That bird is not cleaning a tick. It is drinking blood from a wound that it opened itself. Scientists watched this for 17 years before they published it, because no one wanted to believe it. This is the story of the most successful con artist in the African savannah, and the 5,000-kilogram animal that never figured it out. In Swahili, there is a name for this bird: Askari wa kifaru, the rhino's guard. For decades, that is what everyone believed it was: a guardian, a cleaner, a helper. The little bird that saved the big animals from the parasites that would otherwise kill them. The perfect partnership. One of nature's most celebrated examples of two species helping each other survive. Except no one asked the rhino. This is what the story looked like for most of the 20th century. A white rhinoceros stands in the African heat. On its back, a small brown bird, then two, then six, each one moving through the rhino's thick skin with the focused, methodical patience of a surgeon. Their bills flat and strong, designed for exactly this: parting hair, prying into folds of skin, extracting ticks one by one from an animal that cannot reach its own back. The ticks the birds remove are genuinely dangerous. They carry disease. They drain blood. A severe infestation can weaken an animal significantly, even kill it if it's young or already sick. And the rhino cannot remove them alone. Its legs won't reach its shoulders. Its mouth won't reach its flanks. Those areas of its body are simply unreachable by any movement it can make. So the bird fills the gap. The bird climbs. The bird finds. The bird removes. And in exchange, the bird eats. Protein-rich ticks consumed by the 100 over a single day. The rhino stays healthy. The bird stays fed. Everyone wins. This was the story. This was the story taught in textbooks, celebrated in nature documentaries, cited as one of the clearest examples of mutualism, the biological term for a relationship in which both parties benefit in all of African ecology. And then, in the year 2000, a researcher named Paul Weeks from the University of Cambridge went to Zimbabwe to study a herd of 22 cattle that were being regularly visited by red-billed oxpeckers. What he found didn't match the story. Weeks began by watching, not the birds on the animals they visited, but the birds themselves. What were they actually doing during the hours they spent perched on their hosts? He tracked every action, every peck, every minute of foraging time. The results were not what anyone expected. Less than 15% of the time the oxpeckers spent on their hosts was dedicated to eating ticks. 15%. Not the dominant behavior, not even close to the dominant behavior. The rest of the time, the birds were doing something else entirely. They were feeding on earwax. They were pulling hair from the animal's coat, hair they would later use to line their nests. And they were feeding on wounds, open sores, cuts, abrasions, anywhere on the animal's body where the skin had been broken and blood was available. The birds were there, feeding, not cleaning the wound, not removing bacteria or dead tissue in any way that promoted healing. Feeding. To test what happened when the birds were absent, Weeks divided the herd into two groups. One group continued to have oxpeckers land on them. The other group, he kept the birds away for a full month. If oxpeckers were as essential as their reputation suggested, the group without them should have shown a dramatic increase in ticks and parasites. It didn't. There was no significant difference in tick load between the two groups, but there was a significant difference in something else. The animals without oxpeckers healed faster. Their wounds closed, their skin repaired itself. The animals with oxpeckers had wounds that stayed open significantly longer because the birds were keeping them open. Every time a wound began to close, the birds returned to it, pecked at the edges, widened the margins, kept the blood flowing. Weeks described it plainly. The oxpecker was functioning not as a mutualist, not as a partner, but as a parasite, one that had built an extremely convincing cover story. To understand how this deception functions, you need to understand what a tick actually represents to an oxpecker. A tick, fully engorged with blood, is mostly blood. When an oxpecker eats a tick, it is not primarily eating the tick. It is drinking the blood that is inside the tick. The tick is a container, a delivery mechanism. The oxpecker's preferred food is not the parasite. It is what the parasite contains. The birds were not cleaners who occasionally drank blood as a side effect. They were blood feeders who occasionally removed ticks as a cover. A protection racket run by a creature that weighs less than 100 grams. Not every animal accepts the arrangement. Elephants, in most documented cases, actively drive oxpeckers away. When a bird lands on an elephant's back, the elephant does not stand still. It twitches, turns, uses its trunk to brush the bird off.
Refuses to be a host. In some cases, elephants have been observed allowing oxpeckers to remove parasites from specific areas, and then actively removing the birds when they moved toward wounds, as if the elephant had assessed the situation and decided, you may take the ticks, you may not take the blood. There is no scientific consensus on whether this represents something we would call decision-making, but the behavior is observed, and it is specific, and it suggests that in at least some animals, the oxpecker's strategy is not universally successful. Some antelope species also show active intolerance, shaking, kicking, running to dislodge the birds. The hosts most tolerant of oxpeckers tend to be the hosts most burdened by ticks: rhinoceros, buffalo, hippo, animals for whom the trade-off is most in the bird's favor, because the genuine service is hardest to replace. And among those animals, the wounds stay open longest. The relationship is most parasitic precisely where the host has the fewest alternatives. The oxpecker has found the most vulnerable animals and convinced them it is their best friend. There is footage, difficult footage to watch, of groups of oxpeckers gathered around a single wound on a buffalo or hippo. Not one bird, 4, 5, 6, taking turns. The wound is not large, but it is deep enough to bleed continuously because the birds have ensured it remains that way. The host stands. Sometimes it turns its head to look at what is happening, but it does not drive the birds away. What you see in that image, if you can make yourself look at it squarely, is not cleaning. It is not partnership. It is a managed extraction, coordinated without coordination, organized without organization, precise without precision. A group of animals that have each, individually, found the same solution to the same problem: how to access a reliable food source on an animal large enough and tolerant enough to serve as a living larder, and discovered, individually, that competing for the same wound is more effective than searching for a new one, because the wound is already open. because the wound has already been established as a feeding site, because the wound will be maintained by whoever gets there first, which means the wound will always be there for whoever arrives second. The host maintains the bird's food supply with its own blood, not willingly, not knowingly, but continuously. There are two species of oxpecker: the red-billed oxpecker, Buphagus erythrorhynchus, found across East Africa; the yellow-billed oxpecker, Buphagus africanus, found across Central and West Africa. Both species, same strategy. Both have the same flat, scissor-action bill designed for parting hair and extracting ticks. Both have the same strong, curved claws that allow them to cling to a moving host in almost any position. Both build nests lined with hair pulled directly from their hosts, not collected from the ground, pulled from the ears of rhinos, from the backs of sheep, from the flanks of giraffes. The host provides the food. The host provides the nesting material. The host provides the surface on which the bird lives. The bird provides just enough tick removal to make the relationship appear worth maintaining. They evolved separately, and they arrived at the same solution, which tells you something. When evolution finds the same strategy twice, independently, in related but distinct lineages, it tells you the strategy works, not for the host, for the bird. There is one additional behavior that complicates the picture. Oxpeckers are alarm birds. When they spot a predator approaching, a lion moving through grass, a human on foot, they produce a loud, distinctive hissing call that alerts the host animal to the threat. This behavior is real. It has been observed. It has saved animals. Rhinos in particular, with their poor eyesight, rely heavily on the oxpecker's warning call as an early detection system. The Swahili name, the rhino's guard, comes partly from this. It is a genuine service, but it also makes the relationship more difficult to evaluate cleanly, because now the cost-benefit analysis for the host becomes genuinely complex. The bird drains blood. The bird delays wound healing. The bird takes hair for nesting. The bird uses the host as a living platform. But the bird also calls when the lion comes. Is that worth it? For a rhino that cannot see past 50 meters, in a landscape where lions are real and present and deadly, maybe. Maybe the alarm call alone justifies the blood tax. Maybe the relationship on net is still positive for the host in some environments. Or maybe the alarm call is the most sophisticated element of the disguise. A genuine service strategically valuable enough to ensure the host will never fully drive the bird away, no matter what else the bird takes.
We don't know. The honest answer is that the relationship is more complex, more contested, and more morally uncomfortable than anyone imagined when they named it mutualism. In 2025, BirdLife South Africa named the red-billed oxpecker Bird of the Year. The organization cited the bird's role as a partner to large mammals, an indicator of healthy ecosystems, and a species whose survival is closely tied to the conservation of the big animals it lives alongside. All of this is true. Oxpeckers are genuinely at risk when large mammals disappear. They are an indicator species. Their presence signals the presence of large, healthy host populations. And the relationship between the birds and the mammals they exploit is, without question, one of the most intricate and ecologically significant in African wildlife. But the bird named Guardian of the Year is also a bird that pecks open wounds to drink the blood of the animals it is supposed to protect, that presses its face into a buffalo's open sore and consumes what it finds there, that keeps a rhino's wound from closing because a closed wound is no longer useful to the bird. Both things are true. The bird is a guardian. The bird is a parasite. The bird is a sentinel. The bird is an exploiter. It is celebrated in culture and questioned in science. It is welcomed by some animals and driven away by others. It is named after the creature it protects and simultaneously feeds on. The relationship does not resolve into a clean, moral category. It simply continues on the backs of rhinos that cannot see far enough to know exactly what is happening. Here is what we know with certainty. The oxpecker does remove ticks. The tick removal provides genuine benefit. The benefit is real enough that the host tolerates the bird. The oxpecker also feeds on blood. The blood feeding comes from wounds. The wounds heal slower in the presence of oxpeckers. Some wounds are actively maintained, kept open by the birds. The bird does provide alarm calls. The alarm calls have saved animal lives. And the bird also pulls hair from its hosts to line nests it builds in the same territory it will exploit for the rest of its life. The rhino stands in the afternoon heat, 6 birds on its back, 1 near the shoulder, 1 on the ear, 1 at the base of the tail where the skin folds and the wound has not closed in 3 weeks. The rhino does not drive them away. It cannot reach its own back. It cannot see the lion moving through the grass 200 meters away. The bird hisses. The rhino turns. The lion changes course. And the bird returns to the wound. The blood is still there. It was always going to be there. The bird made sure of it. The rhino stands still. The bird feeds. In Swahili, they called this bird the rhino's guard. And they were right. Just not in the way anyone meant. The wound stays open. The sun moves across the savannah. The birds stay. And somewhere in a field notebook in Cambridge, the number is written down. Less than 15%. The rest is blood. Nature does not break the rules. It simply has different ones.